All right, we're going to go over the requirements for Project 4, interior, exterior, day-night lighting. Whatever you guys want to see, whatever order you want to see it in, I just want to make sure I get all the parts in so I don't miss anything, because there's a lot here to go over. So let's head over and take a look at what you guys are going to be working on. All right, so the whole part one of this is to basically choose which daytime environment you want to do. All right, we're going to be using all of the tools that we talked about today. So, we've got interior day, exterior day. You're going to choose one of those. Based on whatever choice you have, you will choose the appropriate PDF. It cuts down on FSO space, and I can specifically change instructions for whatever one you choose. So if we choose this, this will again give you a brief overview, what all the names are, where everything is, what you need to do. Same thing with the exterior. All right, then you're going to choose a nighttime version. Remember, it's got to be opposite environment, opposite time of day. So if you choose to do the exterior day, you will need to do the interior night, and that will drive your choice for the PDF you download. Does that make sense? Okay, so the choice is yours as long as you do one of each type. One thing that's really important for environments, and this goes from this point forward. Now we're going to be working on large areas, so we need to make sure that our light decays and falls off in a realistic manner. Before, it didn't matter when we were doing a still life, right? You just have everything focused on a small area. Here, we've got a large area. So, what you will need to do, first off, before you do anything, after you open your scene and save it, is go into your render settings under the Advanced tab and turn on Linearize Colors. If you do not do this, you will not be able to match the reference that we have accurately. This is going to make your light fall off accurately and your colors look better. When we get into texturing, we're going to have to linearize each texture file that we bring in so that they behave accurately also. I'll demo that when we get to it. It's pretty simple to see. One will look completely blown out with no detail at all, and after you linearize it, it will show up normal. Right, does that make sense? So put this at the top of your troubleshooting list, because if you're having trouble, this should be the first thing you check. Linearize colors. Goes for both environments, daytime, nighttime, interior, or exterior. All right, so when you download all the we give you guys, down here at the bottom, you will wind up getting the usual 3 folders. You get your Maya project folder. Inside the Maya project folder will be your normal project folder files. In source images, you will get a Zen Garden HDR. Zen Garden is basically behind 4D. It's that little area where they've got trellises, and it's kind of a nice area in there. They've got couches, and they've got a couple of umbrellas and stuff. So one of my co-workers has an HDR camera, 360 camera, so we went out there and shot an HDR for it. Nothing super spectacular. It was kind of an overcast day, which for our purposes is good because then we can kind of make it any kind of lighting we want. If you look very closely, there I am on the left side hiding behind an umbrella. Yeah, where's Waldo? There he is.
Where's the teacher?
So that's the HDR that you will use for the interior day and night and the exterior daytime. Exterior night is going to be the Viz People number 10 that you're going to be using, which is this one. Why? Because our HDR works fine for a nighttime scene because we lower the exposure and it gets dark, but compositionally it lacks any kind of interesting sky stuff. So this has a moon in it. This is one of the very few free HDR images I could find that had a moon in it that was usable. Everybody else wants you to pay money for those really big hanging moons in the sky, and my budget was 0 cents. Yeah, besides, if I download it and get it, then we have to get a commercial license because then we would be handing it out to you guys, and that's why I found a free website and I go, here, go, take. Because then you can download it legally and I don't have to worry about it. Whereas any assets we make on our own, I can pass out freely because it's all full sale property. I just haven't been able to get the camera and my coworker and nighttime all at the same time together. Generally, he doesn't want to stay late at night. He's gone, so I'm like, come on, stay on. It's going to be dark soon. Don't you want to get it really nice in? No, why don't we go home? Can't, no thanks. I like them, but not that much. Let's see. How about, make sure when you guys download this, number 10, HDR goes into your source images. Even if you do not choose to do the exterior nighttime scene, just put it in there in case you need it and you change your mind later. All right, inside the scenes folder, you will get 3 scene files. The interior, day and night, are the same. The exterior is different. So if you take a look at the images here, you'll see that the exterior daytime does not require candles. So like most restaurants, they do not put candles out during the day. They'll put ketchup bottles and salt and pepper and napkins, but no candles. So, the nighttime version of that scene is exactly the same. The composition is changed ever so slightly to accommodate 4 LED candles. So that's why there are 2 separate scene files. Make sense? Okay, so as far as the necessities, those are the things you're going to need. Templates, there's going to be 2 templates. They are different sizes. So this is your exterior. Daytime, nighttime, you open up the template, turn the reference on for which one you're doing. Just in the Photoshop layers, just like you did for the others. Drop your reference down there. Watermark, don't forget, is what percentage of opacity?
15.
Thank you. Oh, you guys are good. Okay, interior, this is different. This is going to be 720 by 405. The other one was 720 by 486. Why? Because they're 2 separate scenes and we wanted 2 different aspect ratios. This one, same thing. Renders at the top are the reference. Turn off the reference layer you're going to use. Or turn on the reference layer you're going to use. Turn off the other one. Drop your render in at the bottom. Now, as far as reference images go, we give you 4 folders because there are 4 files to do. So the exterior day, this is your reference for the dome light only. Since we provided the HDR image for you, there was no direct sun in the sky. That's why there is no sun in the dome light image. But you will get shadows. Notice it behaves exactly like an actual light because it is a light. We're just using the image inside there to get color. So this is your reference for dome light only. Next, you're adding in the sun. The difference between the still life and the portrait, well, actually not the portrait, but the still life was we had you turn lights off individually so you could see what each light did. Here, this is additive. You do the dome light, then you bring in your sun, your directional light, get it aimed, get the intensity correct, and you're set. Make sense? So technically, how many lights here? Two, exactly. Dome light, even though we wouldn't consider the environment to be a light, but for our purposes in CG it is. All right, so here's some positional guides. This will kind of give you an idea of where I had that dome light and how I had it rotated. Forget how dark it looks here. This is a viewport which does not show what the actual image looks like. It's always super dark. All right, that'll show you positionally where the split between the trellises are. It's basically right behind the camera. And then where the directional light is, or the sun. This environment for the exterior is a facade. Just like everything else. We only build what is necessary for the shot. Everything else is gone. This is meant to be the outside of cafe, bistro, whatever you want to call it. The window is not going to be transparent. The window is going to be full sail glass. You know how full sail glass has a black backing on it, so it's mostly reflective like a mirror. That is how our window is going to be. Bless you. Why? Well, for one thing, we got tons of reference for that here, and another thing, there's no built environment for it. Which, if you were an actual restaurant, you'd probably be able to see in a little bit into people eating in there. But
so the window got a limo.
no, the window is there.
It has a limo tail.
Yeah, limo tent, exactly. I got you. Yep, limo tent. All right, so just a little shadow reference. Does that make sense for the exterior day?
Yes.
Okay, exterior night. There is a dome light here, albeit very dark. So if you are trying to base what you see on your render off of my screen up here, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Just bring up the reference next to what you have and work on it. If you bring it up, you'll be able to see there's a little bit of light coming in from the right side. Just a little bit. That little bit of light is enough to bring in the rest of the environment when we add lights. All the rest of the illumination is done by those 4 mesh lights. This is super, super low level base light, very cool. This is your warmer LED light. Now, your shadows should be dead on. In fact, this is probably the easiest light that you will get. Why? Because the candle flames are geometry. You're making them mesh lights. How can the light position be wrong? I swear, if anybody has messed up shadows in here, I will hunt you down. There is no reason for it. No, that's bad kind of challenge. No. Probably the hardest part, though, is going to get the warmth of the light. That's about it. But that's not even that hard. And the intensity. The intensity is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but just remember, the way I've designed this exercise is they are all the same bulb, all the same age, all the same wattage, all the same color.
Yeah, I want to make one black material and apply it to a foil.
Yes. You select all the bulbs at once and make them all mesh lights. Done. That's it. Done. A. That's it. Just don't light yourself on fire. Right. Right, so a couple positional things. This is purely for reference. The moon should basically be behind the camera. Is it crucial to be exactly in that position? No, just put it behind the camera. Because when we get reflectivity on our materials, then you'll be able to move the moon to where it belongs compositionally so it looks good in the window. And again, the moon is only going to be there as a compositional element, so there's something in the window besides glowing fire from the LED bulbs. Make sense? All right, so there you go, big picture. This should tell you exactly where the brightest part of the image is, basically behind our backdrop. It's hiding all that brightness from that sunset. And all we have visible to the environment directly is going to be the moon. All right, interior. Interior is a little more complicated, but still not all that difficult. Remember, all this is linearized colors, too. That makes the light come in, it makes it fall the way the reference is based. This is your dome light. Now, when I say dome light, I am also including portal lights too, because portal lights we use in conjunction with domes. I'm going to show you what it looks like with just the dome light, and then after I add the dome light, you'll compare the level of noise between the two. The level of noise is about 3 or 4 times more with just using a dome light, because it's a bigger surface trying to funnel stuff through. Whereas you take a dome light, use a portal, it channels it in, it makes it a little more efficient. The renderer works better. No! Okay, it's restored, no problem. Right, so dome lights, portal light, actually not dome light plural, dome light singular, portal lights are going to be multiple because there's the sliding glass doors here. There is also another window off camera to the left. Those are the only 2 portals in the room. The rest of the environment is closed off. This is adding in the sun. What are we using for sun? Distant light. Thank you. I died a little inside. All right. So, coming in through the window, distant light on top of the dome. These are additive. There's no reason to separate the two. Now, color, that's going to be your color temperature. You're going to start off when you turn it on, 6500, and then figure out, do I need to make it warmer or cooler, based on what your observations are in the image. If it's warmer, which way do the numbers go? Down, exactly. Now, I would not recommend you going down like 6,498, 6,497, going up and down in small. Just go like 500 increments. It's going to get you there a lot quicker.
Based on what we already know, it's going to be around 4,500.
Possibly.
Sunny days.
Well, forget what you know, go with what you see. That's the bottom line. You're probably right, but always go in the bottom line with what you see. Because a lot of times we'll tell ourselves what we expect to see and then we see it, rather than what actually is there. So, good point. All right, so a couple positional elements. This is what portal lights look like. They look just like rectangle lights, but with little spider tentacles on the side. There's 8 of them, so it's an arachnid. With the arrows pointing in. Dome lights need to be outside first. We create portal lights inside the dome light, which I'm going to show you guys how to do. And then we position and scale those dome lights outside the windows so they're facing in. We get the geometry, or we get the portal lights really close to the geometry. And I'll show you why. Because if we have any gaps in there, you're going to see through, and there's nothing to see through. And this little dot right here, what is that? Distant light. So this is where that little dot is ridiculously, hilariously small. So you probably want to scale up the icon so you can see it. Remember, scaling up a distant light's not going to change the intensity, just going to change your ability to be able to see the thing better and be able to work with it. So scale it up so it's workable, so you can actually find it, instead of it being like a pebble. overhead shot just in case.
I mean, since it really doesn't matter where you place your decimal, you can just place them in the camera view so you can see it at all times.
That's kind of what I do. I usually put it outside the window, so if I'm in the camera, I can go over and adjust it if I'm in wireframe. Yeah. Positionally, no, only rotation matters.
Yeah.
All right, any questions so far? Yes?
Exactly, you were mentioning before, like, when you add the HDR into it, blacks out the scene, like, it blacks it out the image completely. And I was trying that, and for some reason, when it was rendering, the texture is just gone, and it's just like a black sky. Is there any way to?
Yes. There's a visibility button you have to turn on in the attributes. So go into your dome lights, go down to visibility, uncheck it, click it on, restart your HD or your IPR, and it should pop in.
Oh, there it is, camera visibility.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. Camera visibility needs to be turned on even though your HDR might not be visible to the camera, like in the daytime scene. Why? Because eventually it will be visible in the window when we add materials. There's nothing worse than having everything look great and all of a sudden you got a big black hole in your window with nothing. And you forget, what did I do? So if you turn it on in the beginning, you don't have to worry about it. Here's the other caveat. When we make portals, the portals also have to be made visible as well because they are part of the dome light. So they're independent but yet part of the same thing. All right, so nighttime. If you choose to do the interior nighttime scene, there are a few more lights involved here. One, dome light, same HDR, it's the Zen Garden, going to be really dim outside. Does everybody see this white line here? Yep, that's my bad. Don't ignore that white line, that doesn't exist. You're not seeing that. That's because I forgot to get the portal light close enough to the window. It's a scene, yeah. Bad me. I keep forgetting to change it too. If somebody remembers, will you send me a message about it? Because I hate that. All right, so everything in here that's very dim, portal light, dome light, if you will. Here's the nice thing about portal lights, dome lights. All the intensity is controlled by the master, the dome itself. The portals are just there as slaves. They do the bidding of the evil master.
Why does it have to be evil?
The benevolent master. But benevolent master doesn't sound as good.
Because it was benevolent and it wouldn't have slaves.
That's right. It wouldn't have minions. It would just get up and do it itself.
It's all in the context, dude.
Right. So, dim, dome light, all this is courtesy of mesh lights. Those are the light bulbs. And one additional fill light in the front. Take a look at the next image. Just enough to take out some of the solid black in front of the sofa, the vase, and the chair. So very subtle fill light behind the camera. So there are your lights. Portal lights here, dome light, portal lights, fill light. Oh, and mesh lights are inside the bulbs. Questions? What do you want to see a demo of first? Which one? Day or night?
Okay.
All right, who wants interior day? Raise your hand. Night. Looks like day wins, just by a couple people. But I'll demo the night real quick too. So. All right. So I'm going to start by setting my project. Open up the interior lighting day night. Yes, you will get this stupid error message. Okay, there it is. It'll open up to the render cam. For this, same geometry, same scene for night. First thing you want to do, what? Save as, yes. I did set it already. All right, so I'm going to save this. It's my day, 1808. There we go. What's the next thing I want to do? Let's take a look at FSO. What does FSO, the Holy Oracle, say? Ah. Everything's got Lambert in it. He who shall not be named. Exactly. All right, so quick way to assign to everything, just go into your scene outliner, select the main group. How do you assign something real quick? Shift T. Yeah, you can right click. Shift T I prefer because I'm too lazy to right click. And there we go. RenderMan, materials, Pixar surface. Yes, for this, we want to change the color to what? The value.
50%.
Yeah, 50%, 0.5. There we go. Don't forget to save. Why? Because Maya's watching.
Always watch.
All right, what's next?
Make sure all area lines are lit.
Make sure that your settings are the denoise and like the opening sound.
Yeah, well, denoise is for the very end when we go to batch render.
It's always good to have it at the very beginning because then you go like, oh, I'm done batch render.
True. Okay.
Yeah, we'll set it to 32 so it's quicker.
Okay.
Linearized color.
Yeah, don't forget linearized color. Also, what is your renderer by default?
128.
No?
Mine is top.
Maya software. How does that work out with RenderMan materials?
Not at all.
Not very well at all, no. So you need to change your renderer. Except when you open the scene up because it's saved in specific for the scene. Yes? It's always a good idea to turn them off. Yeah, that's a good question. So down under render options, turn off enable default lights. Whoops. Sampling. This is where we come in. I'm going to drop down my IPR samples. Now, at this point in Common, I find that my image format for EXR doesn't exist. This is where I don't trust Maya. And I go into the RenderMan Advanced RenderMan Controls. And now I feel much better. I see OpenEXR, name.extension, don't forget that. So interior day 1808. That's my file name. Renderable camera. It's always a good idea to set this up too. Make sure it's set for render cam. 720, 504, turn off enable default lights. Even better. Sampling, IPR. So far so good. Features, yeah. Frame, default, denoise, on. Advanced, linearized colors. Once you turn that on, make sure you save. Because I have turned it on and then done something and then undid stuff in Maya and wound up going to undo what I turned on. And then when I rendered it, I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. So don't do what I do. All right. So we are going with the interior day. Okay, interior day, here are our instructions. So we opened the scene, we saved it. Next, we are creating a Pixar dome light. Pretty simple. Fourth icon from the left, right click. You have a choice of dome light, portal light, environment daylight. We want dome. Dome will create the big giant sphere that everybody loves. It's sphery. Yay! Now, at this point, it has nothing in it. It is solid white. So what does that mean for us? Well, if we render it, yep, it's going to be solid white. Maybe. Oh my. Oh no, it's broken. No, no.
I mean, the intensity is at one, or it is at one, so can't expect it to be much.
Right, but we should be able to at least see white in the background because that's our color. We've got to set visibility in the dome light. So under attributes, go down to visibility, turn it on. Now, will IPR catch up? No. Nope, IPR will not catch up. There we go. The all-knowing, everlasting dome light now shows up.
So I noticed that like in that corner, that doesn't actually have a normal size.
No, because we don't scale this light. Scaling doesn't really do anything to the dome itself.
So you cannot scale the dome, or the dome, you can actually scale like the actual object.
You can scale the object, but it's meant to look like it's infinitely far away.
Oh,
So it's always going to appear a certain distance from the camera until you actually go through the geometry and then you're on the other side of the universe. All right. So this is what it looks like real quick, down and dirty render, no image. I'm going to let this go because I want to reset IPR so I can start fresh without those old images in there. And the reason I'm going is because I want to show you exactly what happens with the noise level between using a dome light by itself and then portal lights along with the dome light. All right, so I'm going to stop the IPR. There we go. Now, next thing I want to do is bring my image in. So in the dome light, under the attributes at the top, color map is where you plug your image into. If you've set your project, when you click on that little folder icon, it should take you into the project folder structure. You go into source images and you choose the Zen Garden HDR. Now, it may take a second for you to click it for that pinwheel of death to stop. Once it stops, you should be able to click open. There we go. Took a second. Now, when you hit the render button, it has to convert this HDR image into a TEX file, something that Pixar can understand at render time. So, it may take as long as 30 seconds for it to convert the image. And sometimes you just get a blank screen, you get the pinwheel of death again. Just let it crank, let it go. Give it about 15, 20 seconds or so, and it should start. What's that? Yes. Talk nicely to it. Flowers work.
For the project, does it matter how the image, like the second image
Yes, it does. I'm glad you brought that up. So, by default, this is the Zen garden image you will get, which is a giant picnic table outside of the window. Looks like Land of the Lost. So, what you want to do at this point is stop IPR, load in the first reference image, because you're going to be rotating that dome light in the y-axis so that we get the proper location. So I'm going to open, find my reference. There's my reference. So this is interior day, portal light. There we go. So now what you do is you render and you start rotating. You can either go in the X direction or in the Y direction or in the Z direction. Doesn't matter. Both ways will take you there. Just make sure you give it time to catch up, whichever direction you go. You just want to keep rotating it until you match this, right there. When you start to get to this patch of grass, you're getting close. It's actually fake grass. Yeah. Everything's fake. Remember, this is CG. We're all liars. Nah. Did you turn on visibility? Alright, so I'm close. There's my patch of grass. Looks like I need to keep rotating it a little. All right, if you get close like this, that's not bad. You can refine it a little bit closer if you want to go in and rotate in either the transform attributes or in the channel box. That looks worse. So maybe I try 6, or I try 4. Nope, too much. Now, at some point, you're going to make changes and nothing's changing here. So stop your IPR, start it again. Remember, Maya's lying to you. All right, it looks pretty close.
It's hard to see. To be honest, you're probably better off turning on the frame so you can really see what my screen looks like.
Because I'm going to try and, I'm going to attempt to show you guys what it looks like as far as the noise level. But what I can do is bring up my monitor adjustments. Where are they? Right here. Monitor controls. So I can bring the exposure up a little bit so you can see it a little better. Can you guys see that better? So that's my default. I'm just bringing up the exposure so you can see it. All right, so what I'm looking at are all these chunky blocks of noise in here. Notice it looks pretty clean outside the window. All right, I'm going to stop. So, what we want to do at this point is figure out how bright the image should be. That's pretty simple. You've got reference. The brighter you make this image, the more energy it's going to throw into the room, and this is what it should look like. So I'm going to go into attributes. How do you know how bright to make it? Take the default, double it till you get what you need. Well, yeah, I mean, you can do it other ways, but that's kind of what I do. I just double whatever number's there. Take a look at outside the image itself is going to be one of your guides for how bright it is. It's pretty close to being the right, not exposure, but the right brightness level, the intensity. How about the color? Yep. Temperature. So I'm going to turn on my color temperature. The default is going to be very cool. Now, which direction do we want to go with this? Do we want to go warmer or cooler? Warmer. So, which way are the numbers going to go? Down, yes. So, if you're not sure, take 6,500, just make it 6,000. Made it a little warmer. Is it warm enough? Take it down another 500. Take it to 5,500. Nope, no portals yet. We're putting the portals in last because I want to show you the difference in the noise level that you get with the dome lights by itself and the dome light with the portals. Yes. Why? Because you want to position the light first in the scene. Because the portals are going to project the dome light image based on its rotation. The portals are also going to get the dome light intensity and bring it in. All right, so the color, pretty close. I'm not going to make any adjustments to it until I get the portals in there. All right, so far everybody, that makes sense. Everybody with me?
What you may have to do, we had this week, I think, try to run into the project for the city monitor that month, run the project for the new time. Start my circuit project to the new location. Sometimes on the Mac, you guys have iCloud backup, or even if you want iCloud backup, try to run while you're trying to work inside the Mac itself. You put it on the desktop, that usually bypasses iCloud. So put it on the desktop, see if you can link up to it, and that usually solves that problem.
Anybody else having that trouble where the dome light's not showing up, the image? If you ever have that problem, it might be with the next project. Try taking your project folder, drag it to your desktop, restart Maya, link up to the location on your desktop. Occasionally, I think you guys have iCloud backup turned on from Launchbox, and occasionally that will try to copy files that are inside your hard drive. If you put it on the desktop is usually a bypassed location for iCloud to back up. So try that. That usually works. If not, then we got a couple other things we can try. Try deleting your preferences folder and all the other stuff. But you've already done that, so it's probably not bad. All right, so now this is where I'm going to add in portals. Now to add portals, and you say to yourself, well, why do I need portals? Well, what I'm going to show you is this level of noise is going to be minimized a lot when we add portal lights. Portal lights are a lot more efficient, and they also help your render times. Yes?
Would you also have the portal lights in the nighttime?
If you're doing the daytime, or I'm sorry, the inside, interior, yes. You'd want to use them only because you're going to get a lot more noise at night with those those low light levels. So they'll help you out a lot with that. Technically, you could do the job with this, but you're going to take up 3 or 4 times as many samples, even with denoise. All right, so here's how we do portal lights. It's actually pretty simple. Select the dome light, go into the attributes for the dome light, go down under portals. You'll see there's a blank area there. All you have to do is click the checker button, and it creates a portal light for you. The portal light is automatically hooked up to the dome. Did everybody see that? No. Okay, let me Z back here. There we go. All right, so select your dome light, go into the attributes, go down under portals. There's nothing in here. You click on the checker button next to the blank portal, and it will create a portal for you. Now notice, when you do that, it automatically selects the portal, drops it in where? Middle, center of the world. So this is where you have to translate it and rotate it into position. There it is. It's a teeny tiny little spider. So you just want to translate it. I'm just going to drag it outside. And the first one I'm going to do is right here. And do it on the sliding windows. Now, which direction is my portal light facing? Out. So I have to rotate that 90 degrees. Yeah, you're right, 180. That's 90 plus 90. All right, so the way I do that is I'll usually just select it, go into my viewport, or not viewport, into my channel box, and just do 180. deselect it, select it again. You get local transforms rather than global transforms, which is stupid. I don't know why, but you do. So then you can just go scale it like this. We don't care about the legs, the tentacles, whatever you want to call them. We care about the rectangle or the square part. Now, you want to try and get this close to the geometry without actually going through it. It's okay if it's a little bigger. You could, but you don't want to snap it to anything because you want it to be close but not touch. If that makes you happy, yes, you can do that. In theory, it should. Now, what I want to do is I'm going inside just to make sure that I don't see any portion, with the light selected, I don't see any portion of the edges of it. Because when I'm in render cam, if I can see a little hole like this, it's going to create funny results. Funny as in ha ha ha, hilarious. Redo it. All right, so there's one portal. I'm going to go in and make another portal light. The beauty is, as soon as you make the first portal light, it automatically creates an empty blank spot for you in the dome light. You can create as many portal lights as you need. So I'm just going to go in, make another portal. That portal is going to the window off to the side here. And again, you want to rotate it 180 degrees in Y. They don't have to be square, they can be rectangular. This one you don't have to be as picky because it's not visible to the camera. But you do want it to make, you do want to make sure it covers the entire window. I'm going to go inside, just take a look around. I can see them both in there. Now, does it make sense so far? Now, when I render, I should have rainbow and unicorns and sunshine. They're going to get their temperature from the dome. Nope. Just create them. Oh, what happened? Yeah, you got to turn them on for the portals. That's not in the, well, it's not quite in the fine print. It's kind of an annoying thing. You have to go into each portal individually. So select your portal, go into the attributes, go down to visibility, turn it on. So I'm actually going to do that for both portals. Camera visibility on. Now when I render my scene, it should catch up. Did it? Good. It does. It's annoying, but I don't know why. It happens to me once in a while. Not too bad. Seems to happen mostly to you guys. All right, there we are. All right, so I'm going to let this go, and we'll compare what 32 passes looks like with the dome versus the portal.
So the IPR sometimes takes a little while to actually start rendering.
Yeah, it does. Do you have anything else running? Yeah, if you have Photoshop, you probably want to turn that off. Anything else that might be processor intensive, you might want to turn that off too. For me, I got no excuse. I'm running go to training and recording this and trying to render at the same time. Okay, so this is the dome light by itself. No portals. Exactly the same setting with the portals. Dome light, portal lights. Well, cleaner. Yeah, it's about 3 times cleaner, believe it or not. So this is why we use portal lights. Same 32. Oh, make sure you didn't accidentally hit under view channels. Make sure you didn't hit one of these. Make sure it's on A for RGB. Work? Are you stopping your IPR? Let me see your setting.
Try turning off that slider. No, so take your background off, take that slider off. You might need to click out of the IPR already. Now start. You might also want to double check your next time on. There you go, that's better. Do you have portals in there? You had this problem before, earlier on. Yeah, see if that'll help, yeah. Well, you're gonna have to just keep doubling it to get see what the reference looks like. No, those are the dome lights, those are the portals after you got the dome lights. You wanna set the dome light on the cantilever position first, then add the portals. Because the only thing the portals are gonna do for you is this. That's the noise level.
with just the dome light, that's the noise level with the portals. So that's what the portals are doing for you. They're focusing the light so you don't have as much noise. Everything else is relying on you getting the dome light good. All right, questions so far? All right, so next step. Once we get this pretty close to the reference, looks like I need to probably bump up the dome a little bit more. To get the intensity right at the right level. Next step, we're going to create a distant light, bring it in, and position it. Now, I'm just going to start this because I don't want to focus a lot of time on this because I want to go through the other stuff too. Right, so last part of this, just load in your reference for the dome or for the distant light. Create a distant light. Just remember it's going to drop it center of the world. Probably just good practice to put it outside the window just so you can visually see where it is. So this is hilariously small, considering it's supposed to be an infinite light source. So I usually like to scale up the icon so I can see it. Oh, yeah. Now, by default, it's going to be aimed in the wrong direction. What you want to do is, line up the shadows. Line up the position of the light on the wall, line up the angle of the shadows, get the color temperature, you're done. So what I want to do is turn this around so I can aim it inside the scene. Now, by default, my light rays are going to be parallel with the ground plane. So I need to angle it down so it hits the floor. And then, based on the position, rotate it. So use these shadows as landmarks. Now, if I have too much light on the wall, what do I have to do with the angle of the light here? Yeah, I got to bring it down a little bit more.
I don't think to determine the angle of the light, the window has like a post right in the middle, matching that angle for a post in the
Yep, that's what we're doing. Those are the landmarks we're looking at right here. These angles, and then how much light is on the wall.
Again, from R2, when we don't have the spotlight in the sector, if you want to force it on this trace the line, actually find the exact angle.
Yep. Close, but notice I have a little too much shadow space here on the side of the sofa.
For the sunlight, we don't really have to touch the intensity.
Well, do you? This is the default intensity. Is that bright enough?
It looks kind of blown out on the floor. I don't know if that's from the dome light or from the distance.
Well, here's what it looks like with just the dome light. This is the sun. This is what you get by default. So, yes?
Like this thing in the reference picture actually, because this sunlight is so even, right? It's all just like perfectly even. But in the reference picture, I noticed that the closer it is to the window is more exposed.
Yep.
So this sunlight can't do that.
Yes, it can.
Okay?
It's going to be based off of the angle. Remember, it's the angle of the light. You've got parallel light rays coming down into the room.
Parallel light rays coming down into the room like this,
Yeah.
right? So the light rays that hit the floor here first are going to be brighter, and then not all the rays are going to hit here. Some of them are going to scatter. They're going to have further away to travel. So it's also got to do with the fact that at an angle, it's not going to have the same energy as it is coming straight down. If you remember when we first demoed the distant light, when you rotated it, the longer the shadows got, the dimmer it got also, because you're having less parallel light rays hit the ground plane. So what's happening is you've got more parallel light rays hitting here than you do here. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why it's going to look brighter here. The same reason it looks like we had a sunrise when we had just those three spheres and the distant light. All we did was rotate. So that's why it kind of looks like it's got fall off.
Yeah.
It's actually doing its job right if the light rays behave like that.
All right, so we're comparing this with the reference. The angle is slightly off, closer. But what I want to do is try and get the intensity. When in doubt, just double what's there. So whatever you get by default, double it. If it's not enough, double it again. If it's too much, start knocking it back. Once you get the intensity level set, it still needs more intensity. Oh, definitely color. I didn't even bother doing color temperature yet. So color temperature, you know, whatever you did for the sphere or for the dome light, you could probably do for the sun too. Yeah, I think that's what I did. What did I do? I did 5.5. Okay, so let's try 5.5 here. And instead of double, well, yeah, I'll double. Okay, I'll double down. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm good with that. I got sunglasses. Wait a minute, I'll put them on. Yeah, it looks like it could be a little warmer. So in that case, I might take it down to 5,000. Just match what the reference is. As far as intensity goes, I'm going to go by two things. One is, what does it look like close to the window here? And what does it look like on the wall? The intensity actually looks pretty close. The color's a little bit off. The position is a little bit off, but that's just fine. That's just minor tweak. Does that make sense? Do this in passes, just like you did before. The only thing with the dome light, you kind of need that into position for everything else to fall in place. But for the directional light, the sun, get the rough position in there, then play with the intensity, work on the color, go back to position. Just keep going back between those three until you get all of them locked into place. All right, does that make sense? Questions? Now for the nighttime scene, I'm going to cheat, and I'm just going to hide my sun. I'm going to use the same portals that I have, and I'm going to bring my reference in for the Zen Garden night. So here's my portals. And again, ignore that white space there. For one thing, I can tell you right away, you're probably not going to need to enable color temperature, because the color out of the dome is going to be, it should be sufficient. I would start with the intensity at the default of 1, and then try to match your reference. It's going to be low level of light coming in. There's not much direct light out there at all. Just a little bit of moonlight or skylight, environment light, ambient light. All right, so how does that match up? Way too bright. So what do? Cut it in half. You're going to try to match your level of light that you're seeing outside the window to what you see in the reference. Still too bright. Yep. So I'm going to cut it down in half again. Still looks a little bright. 0.2. Okay. Oops, let me get rid of that one. Get out of there. It looks just, 0.2 looks just a little brighter. If you look on the tables up here, looks just a little bright, so that's really close though, so I might go 0.15. Let's see what that looks like. Looks pretty close. I hate that. Arrgh. If you create them from the drop down, they're not attached to a dome light. You have to attach it manually. Much easier if you create them inside the dome. That way they've got the intensity being controlled by the dome and the color being controlled. And any image also. No, it should be, they should maintain, if you create them inside the dome and rename them, they should still be okay. They should still be linked up. All right, so you get this in, you bring in your next reference, which is going to be the lamps. As far as creating the lamps, we're going to use what? Mesh lights. So just select all the geometry. Nope, not Shift T. You're just going to click on the mesh light button. Pixar black. Go over. And then just start figuring out how bright they should be. Now, one thing I will tell you up front is there are some errors in this. One of them is the fact that the geometry of the bulbs goes into the hood. It was poorly modeled. Did you fix it?
Yeah, I think
Good. Yeah, you're probably going to have to reposition the bulbs down a little bit so they're not in the hood. Yeah, here we go. This is exactly why. Right here in the back. Now, these are going to be super anemic until you actually start turning up the volume. Make them loud till your ears bleed. Then go 5 higher. That's metal. To be honest, these are going to be probably 60 watt or so bulbs. That's about what the intensity we're going for. Unfortunately, there is no correlation between intensity here and wattage. So, it's going to all be about what it looks like in the eye. Now, once I get up to around, I just forget that. I go like 100, 150. I'm not going to do. And to be honest, I'm probably going to double this. Getting closer. And maybe I'll double this. There we go. Ah. I could read by that. You have to think of, if I were sitting on that sofa, could I read by the bulbs? Or would I be blind? So the whole idea is you want to have, I got 4 lights in there. The intensity is additive. I should be able to go and read something by it without having it be backlit. Yes, I know in the days of tablets, the need for lighting is diminished since everything's backlit, but just think, you have to read something manually. An old-fashioned analog book. Non-digital analog book. How quaint. You found it in the museum somewhere. You blew off the dust, and now you have to read it. All right, all these fireflies, that's your mesh light. That's why you're going to have to, for the nighttime scene, you're going to have to crank up the max samples and denoise it on top of that. In fact, the denoise filter originally was called the firefly filter because they look just like fireflies. Yeah. All right, so pretty close. One thing I would want to do is still have one more light to add. That would be my fill light from the back, behind the camera. It's going to be just a rectangle light, set whatever intensity you need. As far as color goes, you have to figure out whether it's warm enough, whether it's cool enough. Once you fix that geometry, it's not going to be too bad. Yes? Yes. Only because it's going to reduce your noise level, just like it did during the day. And at night, it's going to be more crucial because you're going to have noise anyway. These mesh lights
low levels of light, lots of shadow, lots of gradient, lots of noise. So anything you can do to minimize that is going to help, and that's why we still use portal lights for this, even though it's super low intensity.
Does that make sense? Questions? Yeah.
What does that mean? My goal is
Make sure your light is not pushed into the geometry. If you have your mesh, here I'll show you with the daytime scene. Well, if you push that into the geometry, you're basically going to clip off the geometry and make it look like there is
Nothing there. Here, let me show you. Let me put this back to Pixar surface. Let's put this back up to where it belongs. Let me turn my sun back on. All right, so let me render from the render cam. There we go. All right. So if I push my geometry in too far, or I push the light into the geometry, it's basically I can cut off part of my scene. Yeah, just make sure yours are like right up against it without actually touching it.
and it shouldn't do away with your shadow. You shouldn't have much in the way of shadows for, if you're talking about night or day. Nighttime, yeah, you're not going to have much in the way of shadows from those lights. They should be really super dim and soft.
So for the night, yeah, it's going to be pretty minimal in here. This, again, that's an error. Don't ignore that. So are you talking about the shadows here that you're missing? On the window frame itself?
I mean, it's more than fine.
Right here? These shadows? You're talking about here? Right here. This one. Okay. I have it right here. Make sure you didn't move your light too far out of the hood or away from the hood. Try and have it lined up with that kind of arm gooseneck geometry that's coming in. See, mine are washed out up there because I have the back of the bulb coming up. You fix it? Okay. All right. Any other questions? For the exterior, it's going to be dome light outside, distant light for the sun. You guys should be able to, if you decide to do it, use the same technique we did here. But guess what? You don't need portal. There's no blocks, there's nothing. For the nighttime, go into project for. And no, you have to click on the Viz People link. There's what? You have to go to the Viz People to free stuff. You have to go into, yep, free HDRI images. Just go down to the mirror. Well, I'm showing you after I downloaded it and expanded it. Now, what format is this going to be in when you download it? You're right, you have to download the free on the expander for it. Good, okay. Just want to make sure you're with me on that part. No, you have to download the whole set. That's because it's free. They want you to download it and read everything. Yep. All right, so for exterior, you guys need to see the day? Do you need to see the exterior day demo? Okay, I'll do a quick version of it because there's really not much. This one, yep, there are no portals for this. First thing you're going to do, make sure you download the correct. So there's the day, exterior. You're going to use the same Zen garden. So first thing you're going to do, save as, create a dome light. Right, dome light's pretty simple. Bring your image into the dome light under source images, Zen garden. Same principle as the interior scene. Now, the nice thing about this is that we can, even though this is kind of a really coarse looking image, what we want to do is look behind the camera, and that's how we want to rotate our HDR. How do I know that? Because I've got reference. There you go. I'm looking behind the camera, and that's where I'm going to rotate my image to. So I'm just going to rotate it in Y. Until I have this. It's roughly about what this is. Right between those two trellises. That is a good enough position. That's a rough position. What do I have to do to my dome light? Make it visible. Yep, because if I render this out from the render cam, oh no, I've got a render view error. What did I do wrong? You got a render view error message? You sure, render view? Ah, that's why. It's set for Maya software. You're thinking of the IPR memory error that you get. Yeah, so do I. Everybody does. All right, so what do I want to do here? Yep. Yeah, so let's do this. There we go. OpenEXR. Single frame, render cam. Going to turn off. Oh, good, that's off already. Samples, that's way too high. 32, that's good. Ooh, and turn that to 10. Yeah, I'm just going to leave them all default at 1. Features. Denoise turned on just in case. What do I want to do here? Linearize. Yes, you said it right. That's good. Linearize colors. Now, if I render from the render cam, I should still get an error, but it's the IPR memory text error. It makes Maya think that it's running out of memory. Whether it is or not, I don't know. I don't think it is, or else it wouldn't work. So let me resize my window to the image. And actually what I want to do also is load in my reference. Ooh, wrong one. Here we go. Dome light. Now, don't forget, even though we can't see this image, don't forget to turn visibility on. Why? Because eventually we will be able to see it in reflections in the window. So I want to match the level of intensity, so what do I need to do? Yeah, exactly. That might be a little much. What's that? The original came in like that. That's going to limit how many bounces of indirect light I get. And since I just realized that I may have given you guys this, I'm just going to put my scene to what you're probably going to work on. When we get into materials, we're going to turn that back up to the default. so that we can see through glass and see stuff bounce off. Because right now we're just kind of limiting to one bounce, direct light plus one bounce. It's a little more efficient when you're doing grayscale lighting. We don't have to worry about too much bounce in there. Well, it looks pretty close. All right, so once you get the dome light intensity set, then you bring in your reference for the daytime sun. And it's all about getting these shadows right here. Get those shadows, the bread will fall into line, so will the cutting board. Which direction is the sun going to face? Yeah, it's going to come from the left, shoot across the scene. Remember, the parallel light rays, you're going to get a parallel shadow from the bottle and from the wine glass at the same time. So distant light. So you just want to measure your render against the reference. If it goes into the cheese or gets hidden by the cheese, it's too far. Just need to back it off a little. Nope, too cheesy, right? Looks like my shadow now comes too forward to the camera. I need to bring that over just a little bit. Very close. As far as intensity goes, Pretty close. Now, if you find yourself moving the rotation tool manually and it's bumping up too much, just go into the channel box and just nudge it a little bit manually with the settings. So I'm going to deselect it so I don't get local controls. There we go. So again, just like with any of the other lighting, do it in passes. All right, does that make sense? Questions? Anybody? All right, nighttime, exactly the same thing. Let me stop this. I'll go over that real quick with you just to make sure. So I'm going to open up different scene because, again, it is different geometry. So exterior lighting night. I'm not going to save what I did here. All right, so this has extra geometry, candles, just like with the previous one. And something else you guys didn't tell me about, which is why my stuff wasn't matching, I didn't change the material. That's what you get when you try and match Lambert to something that is already Pixar surface. It's not quite going to make it. So for this, make sure that you assign Pixar surface to everything. 0.5. Don't forget also render settings. Make sure RenderMan is your renderer of choice. Under features, denoise, filter, frame. Don't forget, under advanced, linearize colors, or you're not going to be able to match the lighting. Once you've done that, get your PDF. So exterior night. Make sure you download the Viz people. We're going to be using the number 10 HDR image. So you're going to create a dome light. And in that dome light, you're going to plug in the Viz people image. I already downloaded mine. Notice it takes a while for it to shine. There we go. Give it a second. It'll pop in. I'm going to go into shaded mode so I can see my image. What you want to do is just go round behind the camera, and by default this moon should be behind the camera. Check to make sure the moon is behind the camera. That default position is fine for now. Make sure you turn on visibility. Bring up the image tool, load in your first reference. Very, very dim. This, you're going to have to wait a while for it to build the file. This is a 50 megabyte file. Also, be prepared, if you haven't downloaded the Viz People yet, it is a 500 megabyte download because there are 10 images, roughly each 50 megabytes. So, what do I have to do to this? It's way too bright for one thing. Okay, pretty close. Life is good. Gonna stop. What's the next step? We did that. We created a dome light. Might need to rotate it so the moon's behind the camera. We'll fine tune it later. Don't worry about that. Then, this is the hard part. You have to select 4 pieces of geometry and turn them into a mesh light. That hurt. And I'm spent. All right, so color. This is all about color temperature. Obviously intensity also. Even though they are dim LEDs, they are definitely going to illuminate the scene. By default, you're not going to get much illumination until you start cranking it up. And when in doubt, load in your reference. Oh, good. Come back here. I hate you. Yes, it did. It's just Maya. It's RenderMan. It's all meant to challenge your sanity. Well, that's why there are like 60, 70 people working on it, because they've all gone crazy little by little. And as they go crazy, they get new people to come in who aren't quite as insane. All right, so once you get this, it's all about intensity. And this is slow because it's a big image and it's got to process the image. And there we go. Yes, it does. It's adding just a little bit of light. Remember, lighting is additive. That little bit of dome light helps you to be able to see the background. You always need your dome light. You always need the image because the image is providing color and it's also providing a little bit of intensity, a little bit of illumination. So this, it's going to take a while. Landmarks that you want to shoot for. The intensity on the glass and the bottle. Those will be your guide as far as how much intensity you need for the entire scene. Yes? All right, so pretty simple. Any questions about anything I went over? So you guys understand you need a dome light in each environment. Interiors, you need what in addition to just a raw dome light? Portal lights, yes. You also will need a distant light for the sun. For the nighttime, you'll still need a dome light. If you're doing the interior, you're still going to use portals. But all your light's going to come from where? Mesh lights for the bulbs in the lamp or the bulbs in the LED candles. Yes.
For the nighttime scene, where do you exactly put your portal light
For the interior,
for the exterior?
there are no portals.
There are no portals?
No, there is no enclosure. You're outside.
So there's no need for the portals?
Only portals for interior scenes with windows. We're outside of a restaurant. That window that you see behind it, that's inside.
Yes.
So we don't have any portals. There's nothing to block the light. All right, any other questions? Yes, no? Okay. This is going to be due, since we don't have class on Thursday, it's going to be due Friday, yeah. So you get an extra day to work on it. Instead of it be due on Wednesday, you'll have Friday. Actually, this is due Thursday. Yep, that's what it says, Thursday. So you get an extra day to work on it. Because I need this to be wrapped up because, this is going to be due Thursday, not Friday, Thursday, because we are going to use these scenes for materials. Yes. That's everything that we do from this point forward is additive. It's also accumulative. So the two environments you work on, remember you're going to work on one day, one night. If you do the exterior day, you got to do the interior night, vice versa. All right, those two scenes we're going to use for materials. Then when we get into project 6, one of those scenes you will be taking full tilt with texturing. So everything is built on doing your environment lighting for this. So get the lighting. We'll try and give you guys feedback. I think that's why I did it Thursday, because if you turn it in Thursday night, I'll have time to grade it Friday. You guys will get it back in time for materials. So if there's any tweaks to do with the lighting, that's the time to do it. That makes sense? All right, don't forget there's a discussion with it. The discussion's actually pretty simple. Just go in and discuss the differences in lighting. Now, one thing I did forget to tell you. Yes. There we go. So, you will have the ability to create your own composition. We're looking for an environment composition. Choice is yours, whatever you want to use, whatever you want to do, daytime, nighttime, interior, exterior, any kind of environment. The problem is you're constrained to using one of our scenes. It's either going to be the interior or the exterior. So your choice. This will give you a chance to frame up your own shot, get your own camera, add your own lighting. Now, as far as lights go, whatever you need to do to get the look of your scene, you can use one light, you can use 100 of them. However, if you do 100 lights, be prepared for 100 times longer to render, as opposed to a single light. So creepy, well lit, dilapidated, nice, doesn't matter. Oh, absolutely. Not yet.
But, so we pick one of these scenes and we light it however we want. Like the ones, like the scenes that we or we create our own scenes.
No, you're gonna use our scenes, the geometry, to get the look and feel of the environment that you want to recreate. You're gonna just put in shapes like you did for the other ones. Only it's a big environment with lights, colors, whatever you need to do.
Really basic shapes or do you have like
You're using our model, just like you did in the other exercise. So you're either going to use the interior models or the exterior models. Whatever one fits your environment. All right, does that make sense? Questions?